Carolina Week.
Coming up on the November 28th edition of Carolina Week.
I'm Rebecca McAtee with tips about how to be safe during your holiday travels.
I'm Nick Kane, and I'll tell you why it just got harder for some people to hang around just waiting for work.
In sports, call them Butta because they're on a roll. The Lady Tar Heels are still undefeated.
Weathercaster Mallory Nichols will let us know if we'll see colder temperatures for the 1st of December.
All that and a group of senior citizens who still got game. Carolina Week starts right now.
From the James F. Goodman Studio in the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, connecting campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
Hello, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Carolina Week. I'm Sarah Huffman.
And I'm Adam Rue. Thank you for joining us. Many Triangle residents hit the road this Thanksgiving holiday, and the number of deaths on our highways was well above average. Our Rebecca McAtee joins us live in the studio, and Rebecca, lots of people will be traveling during December as well.
And most of us will be in a hurry to get somewhere, but law enforcement officials say taking just a little more time and following safety guidelines can save your life. The North Carolina Highway Patrol says 20 people died on state roads this holiday weekend. That's up from 11 deaths last year. State Trooper Dustin Powell says troopers make an extra effort to be seen during the holiday season.
Well, just speed enforcement mostly. Just being out there is a big thing. When people see us out there with our blue lights on or on the side of the road or out there running radar, they're automatically going to slow down.
Carolina student Jesse Ross was a passenger in a crash in December 2005. The driver of Ross's car didn't notice traffic had come to a screeching halt.
And so I started screaming, and the boy that was driving slammed on the brakes, and the car started spinning around in the middle of 40 and then careened off the side of the road.
Ross says traffic wasn't the only factor behind her accident.
The speed limit is supposed to be what you drive under ideal conditions, and we were driving above the speed limit in less than ideal conditions since it was raining.
Troopers say it's important to be extra careful when you're driving in rain, snow, or heavy holiday traffic. Allow plenty of room in case you have to brake suddenly. Powell says the best advice for safe driving is to use common sense.
Of course, just obey the speed limits, wear your seatbelt, practice safe driving habits, use your turn signals.
In addition to minding speed limits, it's important for drivers to avoid distractions like loud music or talking on cell phones.
All right, so Rebecca, what do we do if we're involved in a car accident?
Notify the authorities by dialing 911 or star HP on your phone. A new North Carolina law requires that drivers move their cars to the side of the road unless someone is injured.
All right, Rebecca McAtee starting us off tonight with some good advice. Thank you.
Police are cracking down on people who get behind the wheel after drinking. If you're going to drink that beer, you'd better find a designated driver because the Booze It and Lose It program, which focuses on catching drunk drivers, is entering one of its busiest times of the year. All 100 North Carolina counties participate in the initiative with tactics like checkpoints and increased police patrolling. Chapel Hill police zero in on high-traffic streets like MLK Boulevard and Highway 54. Student Andy McNulty knows how effective the program can be.
So I got pulled over last year driving home down airport, and there are actually a lot of people who had been stopped and were handcuffed. So I'm glad they're doing it. It's kind of scary to think that people drink and drive.
The North Carolina Highway Patrol is cracking down as well. The agency ticketed nearly 30,000 motorists for speeding during a week-long attempt to make roads safer for drivers. In North Carolina, speed is the leading factor in traffic accidents and fatalities. Operation Slowdown cited 24,274 drivers for speeding and 954 for driving while impaired. The North Carolina Highway Patrol says speeding violations in excess of 100 miles per hour have increased 175% since 1999. We continue with a follow-up to our story about complaints against loitering day workers in Carborough. Nick Kane is live from our newsroom with more about the issue. Nick?
Sarah, the complaints haven't stopped, but for those who've been complaining, they're getting the results they've been looking for. The Carborough Board of Aldermen just approved an anti-lingering ordinance for this BP gas station at the corner of Jones Ferry and Davie Roads. Alderman Jackie Gist says local residents have filed a number of complaints in the past couple of months.
We heard complaints about a lot of public drinking, public urination, kind of rowdy behavior, harassment of women as they were walking by.
The laborers get picked up by trucks like these to get to work for the day. The ordinance didn't pass unanimously. One alderman says the law unfairly targets Hispanics, but Gist disagrees.
The vast majority of the Hispanic community that has lived here is as appalled by what happens on that corner as all the other members of the community. So it has nothing to do with ethnicity.
The ordinance says people can linger only between 5 and 11 in the morning. After 11, police say they'll ask loiterers to move along and give harsher punishments if needed.
Then they can be cited on a civil penalty, which is paying a civil fine. If they don't want to heed that warning, then they can be cited on a state citation, which would summon them to appear in court. So.
Gist says that the board is trying to find ways to prevent this problem from moving to another corner.
Alderman Randy Haven O'Donnell has been meeting with members of the Hispanic community, some of the leaders, some of the people who work with the day laborers, and trying to come up with some alternative sites that are much nicer for the men who are waiting.
Although it might seem odd to outlaw loitering on this one corner, Gist told me this is not the first time that they've developed regulations to deter disruptive behavior in such specific places.
Nick, has the ordinance had any effect on the loitering yet?
Captain Booker told me this morning that they're still tweaking some of the wording in the ordinance, so they have not begun to enforce it yet, but they'll still respond to citizen complaints.
Nick Kane, live. Thank you. Another local body is busy on a different issue. Chapel Hill town leaders are discussing whether to enact campaign finance reform. The legislation would create a public finance program. Supporters of the program say with public financing, normal people will be able to compete against wealthier opponents. There will also be a limit to the amount of money candidates can spend. Town council members will consider public input and look at other towns outside of North Carolina that already have publicly financed campaigns. Chapel Hill would be the only town in North Carolina with public campaign financing. You can hardly go a day without hearing something about the drought.
Yeah, but coming up, despite the lack of rain, we'll tell you why you'll still be able to deck the halls this Christmas.